VP of Finance for McDonald's is my CFO and stuff like that. Emerging brands can afford that type of talent to sort of get through. And again, Greg Creed is what I would say my biggest feather in my hat. Is the best marketer ever in the restaurant industry. By leaps and bounds, what he did to turn around Taco Bell in the late 90s, and introducing the Crunch Wrap and all those new cool features, he's now my CMO, even though he's retired, for all my brands. So to sort of put all that together and give all these emerging brands this opportunity to sort of grow with that experience. So we're acquiring brands today at a very, very fast rate. Since we started in January with 0. And now sort of laying the foundation that we know that not all of the brands will be successful. It's impossible. But out of the brands that we have today, we're 100% confident 3 or 4 of them will be the next Jimmy John's. And I'll rinse and repeat and do it again and again.
What are some of the brands that you have in the portfolio?
So, Genghis Grill, BD's Mongolian, Flat Top, which will be Chicago-based, Budlong Hot Chicken, Crafted Burger and Bar, Lucky Cat Pokey, which we opened up 55 ghost kitchens a couple weeks ago for the second largest restaurant opening ever. Wow, beat me by 2, pisses me off, but he did. And Tsum Tsum, which is a Mediterranean competitor to Kava, Dirty Dough, which is the deal that we just signed last night, Sea Green Indian Barbecue. I'm forgetting some. Scramblin' Eggs, and Pat's Pizza, which are 2 brands that we created that will be open here shortly.
And most of these are all available here in the Chicago metro area, correct?
Some of them. Not all. Some.
A lot of the good ones, right?
Well, they all will be. By the end of next year, everything will be in Chicago.
So you're investing back into the state of Illinois, which is great, because most people are picking up and leaving, so it's great to have an operator continuing to grow here.
Question why? Yes.
It's the seasons, Greg. You like summer, fall, spring, winter. See, he agrees with me. You know, the rest of you can come in. We don't bite. There's still some chairs as we go down. So when you are looking, because you do a lot of give back, and one of the things that's been very important to you is the culture of people. What is that philosophy? Because everybody that's worked with you or for you always has a great story, but they always talk about your heart. How is that instrumental?
I realize that I have been an extremely lucky person, and everything that I've gotten is luck, and I'll die thinking that. And so my biggest thing that we have to have in my company is that we always looking to give someone that opportunity that no one else would give them. And we go out of our way to win and to sort of make these individuals successful where other people would bypass them and not give them that opening. And it's just something that has always been important to me, something that my parents taught me, something that Jimmy taught. And it's just sort of the foundation is that you have to give everybody an opportunity. Even though most people may say no to that person, giving that one person that opportunity is going to pay back tenfold on what you gave them to get them started, because they're going to work for you and be loyal for you and dedicated to you 10 times because you gave them a chance when everyone else did not. And it has worked every time I've done it. Yeah, sure, I've been burned, and sure, and I've paid people's rents and bought a car and downstrokes on other things and stuff like that, and those people end up quitting, but I got them for a period of time. And that sort of has built that foundation where everybody in my company continues to give and just knows that I'm going to be there, and if they're struggling, I'm going to fix it. And that's always the most important thing. And I take less to make sure my team wins on a day in and out basis. I'll win in the end. I'm not worried about that. They need to win today because this industry doesn't pay our people very well. And so if I can make sure that my staff is winning and winning at a much higher rate than they ever should, we will continue to win. And so it's how you bonus, it's what you cover for health insurance, it's, hey, they can't afford Christmas gifts, even though you pay them a lot of money. It's going and dropping off a magic bag of, Christmas gifts on a Christmas morning. I mean, last year I think I was in 6 different cities that I dropped off because I knew employees were struggling and couldn't afford Christmas, that I went and I had a plane take me to these 6 cities that I own restaurants in, dropped off bags in the middle of the night like Santa, and surprised them. So on Christmas morning, all their kids had these gifts. And that's just something that I think is important to do.
It's crucial, right? Because we can't run the restaurants every day. So investing that time and effort builds retention amongst your employees, and it helps build that loyalty for you to be successful.
It's giving them what they're due. And so many times today we forget what is people's worth. And it's so much more than just financially. It's having them know that you respect them and willing to go to battle with them. And I ask a hell of a lot from my team, way more than most. And again, that's a Jimmy thing, is that you always expect people to do way more than what they're capable of if you're going to be successful. And so we decide to always give that and push them more. So we reward more than what they are. So my operators are all 20% operating partners. Every GM that I have earns 20% of the profit. Now they have to earn it based on food and labor and stuff like that, but no matter what, no matter how bad it is, they get 20% as long as they perform. And that number, I have Jimmy John's managers still that make $250,000 to $300,000 running one restaurant that will never move up because they're happy making $250,000. That individual now, because they've been with me so long, now makes 40% of the profit. You know, and I make a great return on it, but we build and build based on how long they've been. It's making sure that your people are continuing winning. And so much of us will sit here and say, oh, I do that. You don't, because you wouldn't be in the positions that we are fighting or losing if you did. And I can laugh at my turnover. I lost one GM this year. One. I have 120 restaurants. I've lost one. I'm willing to bet nobody else in this room can say that. But I have people lined up for these jobs that want to fill. No one ever leaves. They get promoted up, but they don't leave. And it's because we treat them so well, and because we do all those extra things.
If you took a step back and you were to recruit today, not that you have to because you have the pipeline, what are you looking for in the recruitment of people?
So I'm a rarity. I want no restaurant experience. So when I go in and I recruit for a restaurant worker, an assistant or something like that, I don't want the restaurant experience. Restaurant operators tend to suck. We have bad habits, we think we know better, we think we've done it this way at this restaurant, this is the way it should be done all the time, and they don't want to conform to the systems of the current brand that they walk into. And what makes us successful and what's made me so successful over the years is that I have a system, and that system is duplicated in every brand that I own, no matter what the brand is. We have the systems and procedures, the recipes change and the food changes, but how we operate is exactly the same from every restaurant. And we plug that into the restaurants that we go in, so I don't want to have the bad habits of restaurant workers, typically. I want the fresh and new and the people looking for the career change, or fresh out of school. I'll take a gamble on somebody like I had and put someone in as an assistant manager that just graduated from school and grow them up because they get an opportunity. Once they get a taste of what we pay, they don't leave. So then all of a sudden it just becomes fun. And the restaurant industry is fun, but it gets a bad name because of the people that we hold on to forever. And we all have done that we hang on to a manager because he's been with us a long time, but yet the restaurant's profit has gone like this over the last 5 years, but yet, man, he's been with me, I can't let him go. It works both ways, you know, and sometimes you gotta let him go. But if you hold them to that standard and make sure that that's always growing, and you're paying him to grow that because he's your partner, you tend to continue to see your profit go up. This will be the first year in my life I have a profit decrease overall. I've never seen my profit dip, and I'm not talking about Craveworthy because that's the newer brands. Those are going to be like this for a little bit. But even in my Jimmy John's, I'm going to have a profit dip for the first time in 24 years. That I'll make less money than I made the year before, and it's economy based.
No, we already have a question. Go ahead.
Do you anticipate that possibly happening next year? Because like a trending thing?
So the economy sucks right now. Anyone that's going to sugarcoat it and tell us that it's not something to be very, very concerned about, it is. Blue collar in America, blue collared stores are already feeling a major, major push on this, and sales in those markets are a lot softer than white collared and upper class stores continually. We feel that come second quarter, end of third quarter, based on everything that we hear, economy would start to have an uptick. Now, I have the benefit of, I also own a manufacturing company, so we do work for all the major OEMs in America. So manufacturing is always the precursor of when the economy starts to tank. So we've been tanking in that industry of mine since June. So I sort of knew this was coming way before everyone else starts talking about it. And actually it was April when they started pulling back orders. And now we're starting to see them ramping up orders come next April, which means it takes usually 3 to 6 months before the average person starts spending money again. And I've had the data to prove that back since 1976, because it's a family business. That every time the economy tanks and when it tanks and when it picks up, it follows manufacturing to the T.
Do you feel like, based on your experience with manufacturing, that's going to tick back up?
It will. It helps that it's an election year. So we're gonna get the benefit of fake for the election, because nobody, no matter who's in office or how it works, election year is always a good year for the economy, typically unless we have COVID too, which is also a good year for some parties. But if you don't have those type of things, election years, the economy tends to be in an upswing no matter what you come election time. It just, the data doesn't lie. Every year of an election year, it pops up.
Gotcha. I have another question. A lot of cities are mandating minimum wages across the country. Chicago's definitely one of them. Do you have a strategy you guys put in place, company-wise, as far as taking somebody from $8 an hour to $15 an hour? And, what's your strategy in that regard?
I mean, the problem is how many of you are actually paying minimum wage today? We're not. It's a false thing. Now, the tip wage is a big deal in Chicago. And I mean, our Illinois Restaurant Association failed us on that. They didn't fight. They made it sound like they got a deal, and they went out there and said, oh, we got a deal. Well, they didn't do crap. They failed. And instead of going and fighting for us and fixing it, they allowed that law to get passed in Chicago, which puts the Chicago restaurants at a huge disadvantage to the rest of Illinois.
Well, it's very concerning.
But it's also our fault, just like everything in politics, is that we have allowed the Illinois Restaurant Association to be our sort of focal point and our trust, and they've been there a long time. And he's sitting here going, oh boy. But there's other restaurant associations that have been able to defeat these things because they fight for the restaurants and educate. There is nothing wrong with tip wage. Tip wage is a wonderful thing. The problem is that nobody was able to get out there and explain that our servers are actually making $50 an hour on tip wage. It's not a horrible word, it's a great word. But by going ahead and raising them to 15, they're not gonna get the whole tip anymore, you're gonna take a pay cut. The model's gonna change. So what you're gonna see happening is you're gonna see more handhelds in restaurants, you're gonna see less servers on, you're gonna see service fees applied, and that's not gonna go to the servers anymore and it'll be paid to the house. Restaurants are gonna struggle to figure out the right way to handle it, and you'll see some that keep the status quo. All right, I gotta now pay $15 an hour. There's nothing I can do, they're gonna make the same amount of money, oh well. Those will be the ones that will succeed right now until the rest of the state has to actually step up. But Chicago is just, they're dumb.
Well, and we could probably spend the next 2 hours talking about the IRA, and good things Sam Sanchez isn't here because we would have had even more fun. But you
But
brought
I
up,
would tell him all that to his face, and I have, and he still doesn't listen, but I have.
Sam Sanchez.
Troy?
No, Sam Toy is the CEO.
Right.
Sanchez is the past chairman
Very well.
of the IRA. But the point you just brought up about the change in technology was actually an interesting discussion this morning on CNBC with Jim Cramer. And he was talking about how fine dining is evolving to their service standards tied in with the minimum wage again. So because of these tip credit things, like for example, Alinea is going to eventually shift their model as well and add in different technologies, whether it's handhelds, whether it's some other automation. So imagine paying $435 for a dinner and you're going to get less service because that dinner could have to be $635, right? And I guess at that point nobody really cares because you can afford that. But it's coming, right? And they're already now looking at it.
So I'm a huge believer in technology when it makes sense. And if you read anything or follow me, and I'm very vocal on it, I hate technology when hospitality comes out of the restaurant for it though. Our consumers don't realize or don't give a rat's ass that you've got to pay more. They still want the experience that they're used to having, and that experience has to happen. So we've got to figure out another way to provide the same level of service that we provided back in the day to the customers today. And so how are we going to do that? It's, hey, can your servers take 8 tables instead of 4 tables in fine dining? They can if they don't ever have to leave the station, and you can hire a busboy to help run the food and food runners and stuff like that. There's ways that this can work if we actually think about it. The problem that's going to end up in this industry is that there's very few companies that are big enough to actually fix any of this in their restaurants. So Let Us Entertain You will probably do a really damn good job of handling this and making sure their level of service is at that proper level. But a mom and pop that has one fine dining restaurant is not going to be able to afford the technology to sort of combat it. And so how do you do it and how you tackle it is going to become the biggest question in the industry as a whole, but also why a platform like mine is so relevant in today's time. Because I can provide a 3-store chain all the systems to sort of fix that, which allows, is what we've been doing in this world right now, and taking advantage of these sort of situations. So as much as I hate to say, I hate PE groups, hate them. They're the death of the restaurant industry. But the way we're building it, my company right now is very much like a PE in the fact that I'm acquiring brands and all that, but I'm acquiring it with my money and normal people's money to sort of do it. And I'm not just cutting it off because I have to open up 100 restaurants next year. I was supposed to open up 20 this year. We're only gonna open up 8. And there's no qualms about it because we've acquired former brands, we've done this, and we made the decision it wasn't the right market to open. I have their spaces, I'm just not opening them. PE would have fired me for that. And so that's going to be the next wave, is that PE is going to realize this isn't the industry for them anymore, and you'll start seeing people start backing out, and you'll have these bigger groups now looking for new homes or becoming privately owned like we are, where we're doing the CF raids and the Reg D raids and stuff like that, so we continue to grow and let everybody be a part of it.
What are you seeing looking into 24 on the technology front? What do you like? What do you think is going to die?
So I think the technology front, though, damn robots have to go bye-bye. They're absolutely horrible, and again, it provides lack of service. And that table touch was so important. Yeah, right now kids think, oh, it's cool, a robot delivered my food. But you don't have anyone going back, you don't have anyone checking it, you don't have anyone checking on the order, hospitality's dying. I think those technologies in the front of the house will disappear, while more robots and stuff like that will take place in the back of the house. I think that's where the technology in this industry will start to grow at a much faster rate. We'll finally get the technology where we can cook food a little faster and be able to churn out more with less. We'll have the robots that are affordable to drop fries in if you're just doing fries and burgers and stuff like that. Those are the technologies that are gonna help. Kiosk ordering, that type of stuff, that's gonna be here now forever just because you have to have it. But if you actually look at the major players in the grocery stores that are already proving this, they're taking it out already because nobody wants to use the damn thing. And so that's going to happen in the restaurant world. People are gonna stop going up and wanting to order on the kiosk and want that interaction. You have to have it right now, but if groceries already pulling them out, it means the customers hated them. Not that they didn't save them money, customers didn't want to use them. We have to be very, very conscious of making sure that that level of hospitality is still there and that interaction is so important. We need to do that just for our kids, because I know my kids, they don't want to look up from their phone, they don't know how to say hello sometimes, and they forget to say thank you. And that's also what we're creating if we continue to just allow that.
That's a good point. I was in a restaurant in the city, and I won't name names because I don't like to call them out, and they had a QR code on the table. You ordered via QR code, they brought you your food, and then when the waitress came by the first time, I said, hey, could you give some description? She goes, oh, it's all on the menu. I said, oh, thank you. And then I ordered and went to pay, and you had to pay versus the app, and it wanted automatic 20% gratuity. And I said 20% gratuity for what? I talked to myself on the app. So to your point, how do you balance that? I mean, do you see the gratuity going, I mean, you mentioned it before. Do you see gratuity going down then? How do you balance both sides of the equation, and are we over tipping at this point?
I mean, that's part of why sales in restaurants are soft, is because the cost of a meal has gone up because everyone gets tipped. Not just some, everybody. So you go in and you have no interaction, you go into Jimmy John's, and I'll pick on one of my restaurants, and it now flips over and says 10, 20, 25, 30% or other. It doesn't say no anywhere. So you're forced to pick one, otherwise you put 0 and you're like, oh crap, what they do with my food. And that's caused the price of our meals to go up so much that people are stopping to go out. And value is going to be the most important thing in 2024 that is out there in the space. It's how you create value, how do you get more out there for what you need, and how you can sort of drive that valuation and that experience. So if you don't have hospitality, because you've taken it all out, you don't have anyone talking to them, and you don't have a value proposition, why is anyone going to go dine out when they can't afford it anyways? So how do you fix that? Is you can't charge tips all the time. So in my Jimmy John's, we've now stopped. We did it through COVID because it was COVID and everyone was doing it. We don't do it anymore. In Budlong, we're taking it away. It should be gone today, I was told, but hopefully by tomorrow for sure. The tip at the register is not an option. You can tip on your delivery, tip on stuff like that, but tip for what we're supposed to do is no longer there. I have to give a raise to my staff to offset it though, which means that I'm gonna make less money. But my transactions should go up because my cost of the cost to the guest is gonna go down 20%. And my guest is gonna feel a 20% savings when they come in. And all of a sudden I become a value prop again. So hopefully instead of 1 transaction a month, I get 2. And then it pays for itself.
I want to go back to the original idea of our session today about taking a shot. And I've seen Gregg in action. What advice can you give to the room about taking an opportunity at hand, whether it's to pitch a product, pitch a service, pitch yourself? We're all salespeople at the end of the day. What recommendation can you make?
I am a big believer of I don't know the word no. So no doesn't hurt me. No doesn't have any effect on me. All you're gonna do is tell me I'm not interested. And if I know where I wanna go with what I wanna do with my company, I have no problem sort of sneaking in my pitch or making sure I tell them what I wanna do and get there. Who cares if someone says no? I mean, how many times do you think Steve Jobs was told no? How many times do you think, anyone who created anything was told, no, that's a stupid idea, don't do it, no, and they keep plowing their way. I don't know what no is. And so I don't take that. Even if when they do tell me no for the first time, I've had that happen in this sort of build. Gregg came to me and said, yes, I want to be your partner. I never asked him. But because I was very selective on the people that I said no to, he knew that I was building something special, that he came up to me and said, I want to be your partner. I looked at him and I said, let's talk, but I didn't say yes right away, even though in my head I'm going, yes. You gotta make sure that you're acting in a way that you perceive yourself to be bigger. And that's the other thing that we do that's really special, and I learned from Jimmy. I mean, he had 20 restaurants when he flew me into Champaign. 20. But yet I was flown into Champaign to meet with him, and he acted way bigger than what he was. And has always acted way bigger than he was for a long time. And on my contract that we wrote on a yellow notebook paper, it was, if you get me to 200 restaurants, I never thought I'd get to 200 restaurants. And when we blew that by, it was like, wow. But no one ever thinks big enough when you have something. And so we took that as never saying no and just keep plowing away and finding a way to do it. And I don't give up. And that's the biggest one, is that you just can't give up. This industry is going to make you fail. And make you fail bad. I mean, I've lost millions of dollars on real estate and stuff like this in the past because of bad restaurant deals. And yet, I do them all again because I learned something on each and every one of them, which got me to the next bigger thing, and it now led me to this one. And it's been painful. I mean, it sucks. Writing a check to the bank for $2.2 million on in 2008. Actually, it was $12 million that I had to write in 2008 when the real estate market trashed. because all of my real estate investments, they knew I had cash. They called every loan I had, every loan. Every building real estate loan I had, they called, because they knew I had sitting on money. And I had to go and pay 12.1 million to the bank to offset what we were over because of that stupid trash, because the banks are all screwed. But that helped them. Killed me. I mean, I cried for weeks, months, years. Still a little bitter about it.
I see a tear in your eye right now.
But, I mean, but I took that and made myself better because of it and then rebuilt. And that's what this industry is all about. It's what everything's about. Everyone that's been wanting to get to the next step has failed. And failure is okay. Failure is actually a great thing because it just makes you better the next time you go back. And that's the one thing that is okay with taking your shot. It's okay to fail. What do you have to lose? I mean, my company can go belly up and I can bankrupt tomorrow. Could happen. I'll do it again the next day. I'll be back here in, maybe 6 months instead of 4 months, but I'll be back doing the same thing and it's the same size because I just don't give up.
Those are very valuable, especially like you said, in this business, it will eat you up. Want to answer some questions? Craig is here. I know we got a lot. You go ahead.
I have a question, Greg, regarding Subway, right, one of your competitors. It puts a smile on your face. So what differentiated Jimmy John's from Subway? Right? Were they dominant Subway? That's what I would imagine, right?
So Subway was the evil beast in the room that we all laughed at. We knew we could never beat. We knew we never wanted to beat Subway. But we used them every day as the big evil guy to sort of go to battle against, and we rallied our team behind that. Let's be better than Subway. And Jimmy and I joked all the time, we don't even want to beat Subway. Subway sucked. And it still sucks. And I don't know why Rourke was buying it, but that's their decision. But we took that as a way to always be better. So if we rolled out a new turkey, we wanted to make sure we were better.
So it was a better premium.
It was, yeah, and I mean, the biggest thing that set us apart was the fact that we delivered, and we were freaky fast. And so when we rolled out freaky fast delivery, and then we actually got food to people within 5 to 7 minutes, when we made that commitment to the labor that we needed to do that, that's when we went off, and that's where everything changed. The other thing that made us different is that we took out a full-page ad in Nation's Restaurant News, and we rolled our AUV of our sales, our food costs, and our labor. Before item 19 was a thing, and before you had to follow all these cool laws that they wrote, they said because of us, we went ahead and we put out there what our AUV was, knowing that Subway was like 250,000 at the point. We were 586 the first time we did it. We doubled them, so we called it out. And so again, we were brasher, we were full of it, and we acted way bigger than what we were to sort of win customers.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Right? Thoughts on the big three delivery companies? And we all know what they're doing to everybody restaurant-wise, but
So I think it's a necessary evil. I think we all need to learn to stop whining about the cost of it and realize.
What was the question? I'm sorry.
So what's my feeling on the third-party deliveries, the big three? And I hate them, but it's also the only way that we can get into that segment. So I argue with people all the time is that delivery is very, very expensive. And I know this firsthand. It's a very, very big number on my P&L for a lot of my restaurants that I still have. And I can't do anything to combat it. I'm stuck with it. That's the model. But yet I can get the same amount of delivery by using them and not have any of the cost, risk, or anything else. But yet I pay them 15% or 24% or whatever the fee is. And if you're still paying 30% on the third party, you're getting hosed. They will give you deals between 15 and 20 to deliver the product all in. You just now have to actually hold their feet to the fire. So, but again, you can't do anything about it. You just got to take it.
can I talk to you about delivery at one point? Because you do have an alternative for what I do.
Okay.
Delivery partner.
Sure.
Thank you.
Ghost kitchens, you say you just going out into more ghost kitchens. Are they still growing, or I hear declines in ghost kitchens?
So the bad ghost kitchens are going away. I'm investing a lot of money in ghost kitchens right now, but for my own brands. So I think ghost kitchens or virtual kitchens are incredible when you do them for yourself. So each one of my established brick and mortar restaurants will have 3 virtual brands running out of the back. I'll control that, I'll control the food, we'll run the same systems, the quality will be better, and I can push those orders out. What we've proven in the test is that I can do between 250 and 500,000 in incremental revenue through those 3 ghost kitchens out of all my restaurants, which even with third-party fees and everything else and covering food, because I don't have any more labor with it, I'm gonna make about 40% to the bottom line after all the numbers and everything else. That 40% is gonna pay all my rent in all my restaurants. Virtual brands are awesome if you do it that way. Now there's other groups out there that are good. Wow Bow's outstanding. You know, Wow Bow controls their product, make sure you at least have the same consistency. While Mr. Beast's Burger didn't even spec a hamburger for everybody to use. So you could get a different burger in every one across the country and it was not very good. Those are the ones that are going to go bye-bye.
Are you exclusively using third-party delivery at the ghost kitchens, or are you experimenting with your own?
Right now, we're all third party. So the cost to get drivers in today's market is so high. I mean, it's outrageous.
I just discovered a new product being offered by DoorDash. It's called Storefront.
Yeah. Run. Run. It's not good. There's better options. I guess I should be here. There are better options.
Please tell me more.
We'll talk later. So, but again, to have those better options, you've got to invest in your company and cost more to get up and running, but there's better ways to do it to get you in the right place. DoorDash Market or whatever it's called these days drops you, and you only get benefit if you advertise, and yeah, they say it's your own ordering platform, but it's very shaky, to say the least. So the one thing you'll get from me is that I will never ever sugarcoat anything, so ask away.
How do you see the tip credit issue working out with hourlies? Because the service industry is a huge industry. Obviously, we're going to lose 65, 70% of those people to other jobs, right? So it kind of kicks in, the cash goes away, so to speak.
So that would be yes, it will, but it won't. The economy, thank God the economy is tanking at the perfect time that people aren't hiring in the other jobs. So what happened, COVID allowed a lot of people in the restaurant industry to get jobs they weren't qualified for because everybody was short-staffed and nobody wanted to work and all this. So they all took these sort of jumps up and out of the restaurant industry. What you're starting to see now is that because the economy, which is always not great and there's always been people struggling, COVID had allowed no one to struggle. Everybody was making more money than they ever made because of government subsidies and everything else. They were up here. That money is now gone. There's no more free ride. And you're starting to see the people that walked away from the second jobs now coming back to the industry very, very fast for that second job. And that second job, because people need it, they're gonna have to still have it. And as long as the economy will stay sort of at this point, and it's not going to get better. We're going to be now back to the normal, hey, you gotta work to earn what you get. It's not gonna be a handout all the time. And COVID required that, but afterwards, people had more than they ever had. You're gonna get people now taking those second job opportunities again. I don't think the tip credit is as big of a fear as everyone else in this industry. I think it plays out. I don't think we should be here, but I think it plays out and everything sort of rebalances at that point.
Again, in the minimum wage, those employees are going to lose cash. Do you think cash is going to come in back to where it's at?
Cash is dead. I mean, the days of people not reporting their tips and making that a take home, it's long gone. I mean, we're doing in a Jimmy John's, and in my QSR fast casual, we're doing 90 to 95% credit. Cash is gone. So the days of being able to say, oh, I'm gonna take this home and not report it, that's long gone. It's not the same numbers.
What do you look for in a new brand when making an acquisition?
So in a new brand, I look for something I don't have sometimes. I buy the same segment. But I'm looking for something that I can compete with on a white space. So I want some growth opportunities. I want something that I can take and get to a national level. But more importantly, I love when there's already somebody bigger than me in the segment that I can go after. So the same thing that we did with Jimmy John's is that we had Subway to bash. We didn't have to educate anybody on what a sub sandwich was. Wingstop has done all the work for me for my Wing It On brand. Everyone knows that wings are now a delivered item. They can be eaten all the time, they can be taken. They've done all the marketing for me. I can now be the number 2 in that segment and be just fine. But I want to have that giant to sort of do the work. Cava, everybody in this room knows Cava. You know, they're worth $5 billion, but yet they didn't make money ever until last quarter. But they got a $5 billion valuation. I bought Tsum Tsum because they've already educated everyone on what Mediterranean food is, now on a national level. Now, there's a bunch of other smaller players out there, but there's no one that's sort of a true number 2. I can have Tsum Tsum be the number 2 player and compete with Cava in size within 2 to 3 years. And so that's what excited me about that brand.
There's a lot of brands that are known for things like freaky fast delivery, you put a roll in some of them, Domino's, and beyond. How much do you think customers care about that, and how hard was it to actually set up?
So we knew we had something when we delivered because no one else did it. So, I mean, obviously to find your niche or what differentiates you is always the most important thing. And the brand is more important sometimes than what the food is. And that's where people always forget in this industry, or even people that I've consulted with. It's hard to get them to understand you gotta spend so much money on building a brand, and that everyone's food is good. You know, yeah, some food is better, some is not, some is great, some isn't, but you've all looked at brands that you're wondering, how the hell do they have 1,000 restaurants? The food sucks. Brand is awesome. The consumer in today's world is only about the brand. So as much as you're spending on building your infrastructure on what food and what's this and making sure that's good, if you have great food and a great brand, it's easy. But if the branding doesn't live up to be what it should be, you're gonna struggle for a long, long time. And so the expertise that others provide and the people will tell you, hey, spend a little bit more time on your webpage, spend a little bit more time on your digital presence, spend a little bit more money here. There's a reason why the restaurants that are very, very successful right now are doing all of those things and continuing to tweak them. Brand wins customers, food keeps them. And that's what you gotta remember.
As folks in the room are building their brand, what recommendations would you give to them, or things that you failed in the past that enlightened you moving forward?
That first time you go and get a logo or redo your logo, don't say no just because it scares the hell out of you that it's gonna cost $25,000 to do it right. You know, and that was sort of the first one that I left after I left Jimmy John's. I got a bid and it was like $55,000 to do the logo work and all that. And it was like, oh, that's gonna kill me. But I went cheaper and that restaurant struggled to open. I opened the exact same menu under a different brand and a different logo when I realized that it was branding, and the night and day difference between the two. You know, both successful, one not to where I wanted to, closed it. The other one I kept for 18 years it ran as a one-off, you know, until the lease expired. And it was all because the brand resonated.
What would you say, Greg, was, I mean, from the 2 logos, right? What was it that differentiated the more expensive one that really stuck out?
So the restaurant industry is full of the mom and pop logo, where it looks like clip art. And that doesn't, especially today, it hurts even more. So there's people out there that just have an eye and know how to sort of do things, and I'm very lucky. I mean, my old creative director at Jimmy John's is now my creative director. So I gave him his first job when he was there, and he's now doing all my design work. So I mean, I had this relationship with him for 26 years that we just sort of get it. So if you look at some of the new logos that have rolled out, Scrambled Eggs and Pastizza and even the redone Wing It On and stuff like that, the logos just are so refined and have elements that catch people and you can use in different points. And it's an art, and it's a whole different art than, it's no different than a chef preparing great food, there's people that are just great at doing that.
So what you're saying is you don't go to the website for $25,
No,
crowdsource it, and then have somebody AI generate it.
no.
That's fair. That's fair. What do you think about AI and ChatGPT and all these other things?
I think it's gonna make us all very stupid, especially our children. I think there's great ways to use it to help educate and how to get people to sort of learn how to do the job. But I think it's gonna prevent us from creating the next great leader to sort of do everything, because they're gonna be relying on other things that they don't think they need. Your mind processes things differently because you learned about it. You knew, hey, if you're repairing a piece of equipment because you worked it and you had to have trials and failures on how you were using it for the first time, that made it easier for when you went in and you fixed the next one and you learned from that job. When you use AI or you use all these technologies that are out there and you Google it and you sort of look at it, you don't build a rapport of how to fix it from time to time, you just rely on this device. So things take longer than having that expertise. It's the same way in how you write something or how you write an ad or how you place a digital space. All of that is something that you just get better at. And AI is great. You can go and write an incredible digital ad campaign right now. And I tested it. It's awesome. You know, great stuff. But it doesn't know your customer. So all that customer data that you have and knowledge of what your customers spend is still missing. And so I think there will be ways to use it. I just don't think it should be what we rely on every day.
What would be your advice for a restaurant chain that has been successful in the suburban areas of Illinois that want to penetrate the Chicago markets where notoriously a good fit?
Don't.
Why?
Run.
So if the suburbs are where all the people live right now, so why go and take on higher rents, higher labor costs and everything else if you don't need to? So
What about other cities? Like,
I love Chicago. I'm opening in Chicago, so I can't really say don't, because I don't follow my own advice there. But if you're extremely successful elsewhere, stay with what your brand sort of has followed and what works until you get to a point to have somebody else and you can fail without it hurting you.
so thinking about your Jimmy John's, for example.
Yep.
You say you have 600, I'm sure you had some sort of strategy where you had to think about, okay, I'm keeping some in the city while some in the suburbs.
So when we were opening like that, we were opening in a different philosophy that I opened a market to sell a market. So I was basically the builder, knew that I'd get them open really fast and then I could flip them for X amount of dollars. So it was like me building houses is how I handled the Jimmy John's component and not my livelihood every day. So if the market didn't take, I was okay with the market not taking because I had 5 other markets that were gonna pay for everything. As I waited for a buyer for that market. But if I was only in the suburban location before I moved downtown, I would make sure that if that location bleeds me dry, and it's gonna cost me whatever, $200,000 a year negative cash flow, that $200,000 does not change anything else in my company. And then I would go downtown, and only then.
I would highly recommend attending more, meeting more operators, because the network of people will support you. If your dream is to be in the city, then go meet city operators and talk to them and get their advice and talk about locations. Myself, I have a lot of friends who would love to put a jewel in Chicago, and they come to the city and they're like, oh, well, this real estate person is showing me this piece of real estate. Now, I'm not a city operator, but I know Greg. We were in the car together with 2 city operators. I said, hey, my buddy's gonna come from New York, wants to come to Chicago to do X concept. What do you think about this location? I thought they were just gonna laugh me out of the car, right? You use the network. That's the one thing about the hospitality network, unlike probably manufacturing, right? Manufacturing, you don't talk to your competitors at all, right? But in this business, people will pick up the phone and talk to you. So if that's your dream and you want to get there, do as much due diligence. Number one, know who your audience is, demographic-wise, that you can mirror that, or as on the social space, we'll call it lookalike audiences, because if you've manufactured that in the suburbs, you may or may not be able to manufacture that in River North or in the Loop or on the north side. So really truly understand that before looking at the glitz and glamour of being in a metropolis like Chicago.
You make a great point about how it is difficult to make friends and to market and to get to know people. So we were contemplating potentially using a consultant to look at what's their kind of idea to try to gain
Consulting
some
for
insight
what?
to market a particular restaurant in the city of Chicago.
I mean, again, there's all kinds of agencies and all that are great. But again, it depends on what the brand is. And I don't know enough to be able to answer, but I mean, 20 minutes on a phone, I can tell you, you know, do this, do that, don't do this, go here, and, or hey, you're making way too much money.
I'd love to talk to them.
He loves me right now. Did you just see that look he gave me? But no, honestly, I mean, that's why you're here at Shmoozefest, right? This is what Kerry Miller does, is he brings people together. I mean, I look at these events, I've bought how many different suppliers through Kerry because I needed a recommendation. There's at least 5 other operators in the room that have experience that will lend you their ear to talk through it. Before you start going and buying consultants, and yes, maybe politically we don't all agree with the Illinois Restaurant Association. I don't agree with them. I used to actually work for the National Restaurant Association. But the benefit of being a member is to go talk to those other members and ask them their experience. You could ask this guy right here named Dan Puma. He's been an independent operator in the city. Jerry in the back has been an independent operator in the city. Wave your hand, Jerry. I mean, he ran In Kitchens United. He can tell you everything you want to know about running an Indian concept in a ghost kitchen in the city of Chicago in a non-Indian neighborhood and be successful, right?
I don't know about successful.
So, but I mean, at the end of the day, that's what this all brings. But you have to be a little vulnerable. You have to be willing to take your shot. The young lady with the empanadas, I loved her. She came up to us before, and she took her shot within 30 seconds, delivered her message to Greg and the samples right then and there. She did a great job at it. So that's what's important about taking your shot. Whatever it is, you took your shot right now, you've exposed yourself. Who knows who's gonna walk up to you, tap you on the shoulder and be like, oh, I'm from X restaurant group, let's talk.
You should
Right?
stand up and wave his hand, so.
Yeah, why don't you stand up, turn around, who are you and what restaurant group are you?
Stand up, stand up.
Maybe my wife should say that.
Well, she definitely looks like, yeah, I mean,
But yeah.
go ahead, stand up, tell us who you are and what restaurant group.
Yeah, so we are from Cilantro Taco Grill, and we were the first ones to open up in the city in Chicago. And we started in 2013. We're family and owned and operated, and most of the Cilantro Taco Grills in the west suburbs have been successful, thankfully. But nevertheless, the one in Chicago, we were the guinea pigs, so we're trying to figure it out so that we can survive.
And what they're not telling you, if you haven't been to a cilantro grill, is they don't remember me because I've been out of market, but he comes and visits my wife over at the Firehouse Subs in Stone Park. This family has done an amazing job of building from the scratch not only a food and beverage culture, a retail shop, manufacturing plant. I mean, you guys took that building out in Stone Park and did an amazing job and got the push to do it. So congratulations. The other thing is they've begun franchising. We're actually going to talk to them at the next Shmoozefest, but they actually got an investor named Pitbull.
Big investor.
What's that?
Big investor.
Big investor named Pitbull, who is actually supporting them for Latin growth in franchising. Right here, Stone Park, Illinois. Again, people will help you. Just reach out.
No, I mean, and this industry will help anyone who wants help, which is something that's hard for people to remember and get. But we're the most receptive because we're hospitality people. So no matter what, even if we think you're an idiot after we walk away, we're going to give you what we think and then, be there and help. But again, it's how friendships are born. I and Sam and, you know, Jeff from Wabow and all of us, we go to dinner and we have our dinners where we sit there and we talk about our problems. And we're always willing to have that with each other and with each other in the room and share, because that's what this industry is so special. And so nothing that will ever be asked, and you can call me whenever, but it will get a truthful answer, and we will help anyone we can. You just have to ask people. And that's something that this industry is so much better at than every other.
And showing up. I might
Yep.
have that as well.
And with that, Terry,
Okay.
happy holidays.
Oh, thanks, Sam. And